So welcome, it's match day 25 in the Barclays Premier League, but just a quick pointer, most teams have played 24 games, but there are 4 teams that haven't. Aston Villa have only played 22 and 4 other teams have played 23. They are Spurs, Everton, Southampton and Leeds. That was prior to the kickoff on Friday night. That match I'm now going to go through. Wolverhampton Wanderers at home to Leeds. Leeds one place above Wolves in the table. Leeds haven't done too well without their talisman Phillips. They've lost 4 in a row. Roberts was starting for him, and they also had Llorente, a signing in the summer. He was on the bench. For Wolves, notably, Cody was making his 100th appearance for the club in the Premier League. So to the action. Now, 10 minutes on the clock. Semedo had a shot from distance, but it was easy for the Leeds keeper, Meslier. A minute later, though, Meslier had to be much more alert to deny Neto. Great strike from him. He had to tip it round the post. 19 minutes up the other end, Cooper, the first of a number of headers throughout the match, following a Rafinha free kick. But it was easy for Patricio. 26 minutes, Wolves getting quite frustrated with the Leeds attacking prowess, although it did fizzle out on this occasion. And then 28 minutes, Neto fed Semedo. A better strike for him this time, but again Meslier blocked the effort. And so we got to the break goalless. Into the second half then, 62 minutes. Patricio had to be alert. He made 2 good saves from Leeds' efforts from following a Rafinha free kick. He seems to be their specialist at that. But a minute later, Traore down the other end, bearing down on the penalty box, hit a thunderous shot that hit the post and bar, rebounded back and hit the keeper, Meslier, on the back, and it bounced back into the net. A bit fortuitous, but great shot, 1-0 to Wolves. From then on, there was a lot of pressure on the Wolves goal, and Cooper had a couple of efforts with his head, but the keeper did well to deny him. Bamford powered through on goal late on and finished with aplomb, but it was ruled out for offside. And in the final minute, Costa shot straight at Patricio. Anyway, got to the final whistle, and Wolves have jumped above Leeds now. Full-time score, Wolves 1, Leeds 0. So it's time for Premier League round-up time, Saturday's action. First match at St Mary's, Southampton at home to Chelsea, the early kick-off. 6 straight defeats in the Premier League for Southampton. They're on an appalling run, so they really needed to turn that round. Chelsea wanted to maintain that top 4 position. Rotation by Tuchel, that seems to be the way it's going to happen at the Bridge at the moment. Adoy on the bench, which was a bit of a surprise for me, but Abraham back up front with Werner. Southampton, they were without Armstrong, but Minamino starting again, his loan spell from Liverpool. And off we went, and basically the first quarter of this match was totally dominated by Chelsea. I could hardly saw Southampton in Chelsea's box in the first 25 minutes, but they couldn't make any purposeful chances really. Early on, 5 minutes, James fed Alonso coming in at the back post, but his effort was on the volley was well wide. 15 minutes, another attack by Chelsea, but basically easy for McCarthy. And 32 minutes against the run of play, Southampton amazingly took the lead. This followed some neat play in their half, and a great through ball by Redmond cut the Chelsea's defence apart. He found Minamino, who's free, and some clever work by the Japanese created a scoring opportunity, and he glided it past Mendy, and that was 1-0 for Southampton. 38 minutes, an Alonso free kick found Zuma, who did actually work McCarthy, but that was about their only threat as we got to the break. 1-0 then for Southampton. Second half, and nothing much changed. Chelsea, and once again having all the possession, but there was what I would consider to be a lack of sharpness at the last third. And although they were creating an opportunity, there was nothing at the end of it. On 50 minutes, Werner was put through on the left, and he pushed his effort wide. He was under pressure, but he should have done better. And then on 52 minutes, once again, in the Southampton box, and this time Ings mistimed a tackle on Mount, and it was a clear penalty. And Mount jumped up and took the penalty and scored. One had a feeling that it might have been a more experienced taker, possibly Werner. But Mount took responsibility. I do like that, this boy. I think he's going to be in England's side. After that, really, Mount had an effort on the free kick on 56 minutes, but it came to nothing. And once again, the rest of the half, it was Chelsea in controlling possession, but not firing up front. And McCarthy handled some of the efforts comfortably, but there was nothing really to cause some alarm for him. So we got to the final whistle, and a disappointing Chelsea, really. Final score, though, Southampton 1, Chelsea 1. Up then, Burnley against West Brom. Of course, West Brom was second from bottom. Burnley are just out of the drop zone. They're currently a fifth from bottom. Team news, the club captain, was back for Burnley. Brownlow is in for Brady. And up front, they had Vidra and Rodriguez. Both Wood and Barnes were injured. For West Brom, no Snodgrass. Phillips was in for him. This was generally a pretty disappointing affair. Pereira stood out for me for Fulham, for West Brom rather. On 3 minutes, he had a free kick, but it was easy for Pope. 9 minutes, Rodriguez involved in an effort, but again quite comfortable for the keeper. On 22 minutes, another shot from Pereira. He had quite a few throughout the game, and he looked West Brom's best player by a long stretch. But again, Pope denied him. And then there was an incident of handball on 29 minutes by Ajaja, and he got a red card for it. He pulled a man back in a situation where he was the last man. It was only just inside West Brom's half, but he had to go, and so that left West Brom having to deal with an hour with 10 men. They got to the break pretty comfortably, goalless, and into the second half, it has to be said, they looked the more likely to score. Diego had a shot on 71 minutes that was cleared off the line by Loudon, and on 72 minutes, another clearance off Burnley's line, denied Alacy. And that was about it. Disappointment for Deitch against 10 men, but Allardyce was quite with his performance of his team. However, of course, 1 point is not enough for them. But final score at Turf Moor, Burnley 0, West Bromwich Albion 0. So the main event on Saturday was the Merseyside derby. Liverpool at home to Everton. Some interesting stats with regard to this contest. Everton hadn't won at Anfield since 1999, and they hadn't won anywhere since 2010. Liverpool, 3 losses at home. The last time they had 4, I think they didn't have any records. But interestingly, Liverpool were unchanged from the team that performed so well in the Champions League. Everton, Holgate was in for Mina at the back, and James was back. Sigurdsson on the bench, with Lewin, who had a slight hamstring issue, so he was just put on the bench, and Ayobi was there as well. 2 minutes, that's all it took for Everton to go in front, and it was a piece of quick thinking by their Colombian star James, who fed Rotarsson, and he motored into the box, and a cool finish was far too good for Alisson, and that was 1-0. 18 minutes, Mane laid a ball off to Firmino, but he shot wide, and then on 21 minutes, an Arnold effort was tipped away for a corner. But we got to the break. Liverpool pretty disappointing, really. 1-0 for Everton. The second half action, and again opportunities for Liverpool for Mane. Keita had come on, but Mane again easy for Pickford. And Mane headed over a minute later as well. Firmino shot over on 72 minutes. I assume you're probably getting a picture of this. Liverpool were just not at the races when it came to finishing. And then eventually on 80, a break by Everton, and there was Lewin had come on, and he had a shot which was saved by Alisson, and his momentum took him through, but he was clipped by Alexander-Arnold, who was lying on the floor. It was a bit unfortunate, but Lewin was heading towards the goal and could well have scored. So he was brought down by this body in the way, and the referee awarded a penalty. And he had a look at VAR, and he stayed with the decision. Sigurdsson stepped up, put it in the corner, and the Toffees were 2-0 to the good. Well, that was far too much for this Liverpool side to crawl back. It petered out, and Liverpool 4 defeats at home on the bounce. And as I say, Everton, first win at Anfield for 22 years. So the bubbles burst. Liverpool are not going to win the Premier League title this year, and at this rate they'll be struggling to get Champions League football next season. Final score at Anfield then: Liverpool 0, Everton 2. Final Saturday match then, Craven Cottage, Fulham, third from bottom against Sheffield United at the bottom. McBurney and Jagielka were in for the Blades, as was Sharp. But it was all Fulham, to be perfectly honest, in the first half. And Gelsa, tremendous shot, went inches wide on 15. And Cavalier, 35, his shot went over. And Reed then had a shot which Ramsdale produced his best. So nothing from the Blades in the first half, but goalless it was. Second half, much the same. Lookman started to look impressive. He had a shot on 46 that Ramsdale saved. And it was inevitable with Loftus-Cheek certainly playing his best game for Fulham. He had a couple of half chances, but eventually on the hour, Lookman on the left cut inside, and a touch of class from him and it whizzed past Ramsdale into the net for 1-0. They should have added to it after that, although Stevens did have a shot saved by Aliola, and there was an instant I didn't see that Wilder felt really warranted a penalty of an infringement by the Fulham goalkeeper. But once we hit the final bell, so to speak, Fulham had once again won a close encounter, but definitely vital 3 points for them in their fight against relegation. And Parker was absolutely delighted. Wilder, however, pragmatic as always, just said, we still make too many mistakes. So final score then at Craven Cottage, Fulham 1, Sheffield United 0.